Have you thought about building an N-scale layout on a hollow core door? And if so, what that layout should look like? And should I build one on a hollow core door? Maybe. Let's look at some options. So in HO scale, a lot of people start out by building a layout on a sheet of plywood, that typical 4 by 8 foot layout size, and then they kind of progress on to other things as they grow in the hobby. In N scale, one of the common layouts that people often start with is a hollow core door. You can get them in 28, 30, 32, 36-inch widths, 80 inches in length here in the US, your typical indoor door size, and you can get them easily from your local home center. It's going to be a very flat and square starting point. If you get a piece of plywood, you have to frame it up because it's going to be warped and you need a lot of extra support besides just that plywood. But with a hollow core door, you could add a set of legs to the bottom, put some styrofoam on top, do all your scenery, all your work, and you don't have to do any actual woodworking because you basically have a ready-made baseboard for your layout just by getting one of those flat doors from your local home center. Anyway, I've had the itch to kind of build my own N-scale layout on a door like that just because it's not something I've ever done. And an N-scale layout on a door is nice and portable. You can put it in the back of a lot of vehicles, and it's kind of easy to move around, based on its size and its structure. And it would be something that I could potentially hang on the wall here in the garage, kind of, vertically when it's not in use, and then unhook it, unfold legs, plop it down, and run some trains. So that's kind of the idea I'm thinking of and why I'm considering it. Now, I'm not going to be building a layout like this anytime real soon because I do have the ON30 layout behind me, which I'm trying to finish up here in the next few weeks. I'm trying to finish up my N-scale switching layout, and I am going to be starting on my O-gauge switching layout as well coming up here pretty soon. But anyone who's done YouTube at a consistent cadence will tell you that you need to plan things out pretty far in advance, and you need to have, kind of figure things out in terms of when to get supplies so things are in place in time to build the project or do the video or whatever. And so even though this isn't a project for this year, it is something that I need to kind of plan out for next year, probably when I'd be building this. So anyway, let's look at some N-scale layouts on a door in terms of their design and layouts that might be worth building and ones that I'm kind of interested in and what I'm leaning towards doing for that future N-scale project. So some of these designs here I'm pulling off the Model Railroader website where they have their track plan database, and you can go on there and see all kinds of great layout designs, which these are all, for the most part, I think layouts have been published in their magazines. So a great resource. I'll have a link in the description if you haven't seen that. A great resource for layout design ideas. So anyway, this first one is the Erie Railroad at Herbton. This is a nice twice around layout. It does have a reversing track section in the middle. But again, your typical 36-inch by 80-inch hollow core door layout base for this. Gives you a long mainline run with that twice around. There are some switching operations in there as well. And this is a layout in this size that I've kind of looked at and thought that'd be kind of a fun layout to do and something to potentially consider. Now, I've talked about this next layout in the past in previous videos, but this is Dave Ulmer's Pennsylvania Railroad Juanita division that he built many years ago, and he's had videos and everything else on it. But anyway, this was a double track N-scale layout that I just really liked the look of. I thought it was a really nice layout. But anyway, kind of just your simple double track mainline with some switching operations, some interchanges, and things like that to offer some operational potential as well. Now, he did have a staging area yard kind of thing on the side that he added on later, and that would be something that is a good consideration for any of these layouts, to have it kind of modular in terms of being able to add on to it with time. Of course, Model Railroader themselves did the Red Oak project layout recently, a few years ago as well. Again, a 36-inch by 80-inch hollow core door. And this one offers a lot of operational potential in terms of how it's set up. You have a lot of staging. And so, again, you can run a lot of trains this way, even though you do just have a single track mainline, just because you do have all that staging. And so this would be something that would be interesting to build as well. It was a great looking layout. But anyway, again, one of the project layouts in N-scale that was moderately sized that I did like a lot. Kato on their website has the Manning Oaks layout design, again, kind of more or less set up for a hollow core door size type of layout. Double track mainline, some extra tracks here and there, some switching, interchange, that kind of thing. So a layout that lets you run multiple trains and still has some operational potential. Of course, Woodland Scenics has their N-scale layout in a kit you can buy. They have that 3x6 foot layout you can buy that's, has all the styrofoam and scenery materials. You can buy the track pack for it, the structure pack for it, and build that whole layout. And 3x6 feet is a little bit shorter than a hollow core door, so 8 inches shorter, but you could use that extra 8 inches for storing your controls and things like that, or you could just stretch the layout slightly. Having a door underneath it with some legs you can attach on there does give you an option for converting that layout to something more permanent. So if you are going to do a folded dog bone layout like that Woodland Scenics one, this is a design that I kind of like a little bit better. No industries on here, just in terms of the actual mainline run. And this layout was based on something that I saw online some years ago. I really, really like the look of this layout. And it's been one that I thought about building, and maybe at some point I will build this layout. Just a really interesting layout visually to watch trains run on. No real operations on the layout, just something to watch trains run on. But, especially for doing YouTube videos of new models and things like that, it's nice to have just something like that that's visually pretty and, you can run trains on. This is another look at that layout in terms of the overall structure of how it was built. So you can kind of see how they arranged that folded dog bone type track design in that layout. Now, if you've been to my website and looked at the plans on the track planning page, you've seen a whole bunch of Carolina Central variations. And this is one of the layouts that I really, really liked for a long time. And I've always thought about building it and never have. And there is an article in Model Railroader you can find from way back when. And this was built on a 28-inch by 80-inch hollow core door, so a very narrow door, something a little bit more portable and compact than, say like a 36-inch wide door would be. So as a result, the minimum radius I think is only 9 3/4 inches. And so if I were to build this design, I would build it with a 12 3/4 inch minimum radius curve, just so I could run anything I wanted on it. If I want to get the Kato Big Boy at some point, which I do, I would have a large enough radius curve to run that locomotive on, especially for doing videos and that kind of thing. So I've made a few variations on that plan. This is the first one. This is a little bit shorter. This one is only 6 feet long instead of 80 inches long, so a little bit more compact. I have the back area a little bit different, so there'd be kind of a couple tracks there for staging trains. But otherwise, it'd be a very similar type of operation. This is a Kato Unitrack version of the actual Carolina Central for a 32-inch wide door to give you those broader radius curves. Now, if you want a double track version of it, which I kind of do, here's a 36-inch by 80-inch door that gives you the same plan, but with a 13.7-inch radius minimum curved loop on the outside. So you have 12 3/4 for the inner loop, 13.7-inch minimum radius for the outer loop. So you have two relatively broad curves for both loops of track to allow you to pretty much run anything you want. Long locomotives like a Big Boy still aren't going to look great on something that's 13.7-inch radius. It's a lot better with like 18 or something like that, but you really can't do that on a hollow core door. So this gives you at least enough breathing room for them to run and operate pretty reliably, but at the same time, you're not using up too large of a space. Now, if I do build this plan, and again, I'll probably change it between now and next year when I actually build it, but this is an idea for how it might look. I want this to be more of an urban layout, and actually I would put a lot more structures in here than what you see. But I like the idea of having a kind of canal area there with maybe having like a grain facility there where you could have barges and rail cars being loaded with grain or whatever. That would be kind of fun, I think, to model. And then, and then one other industry on the other side. So there wouldn't be a lot of intricate operations with this, but again, a lot of it would just be so I could, run trains on it for videos and things like that, and have a nice display layout for doing that for all kinds of future videos. So again, there would be, kind of a hillside with a lot of structures on it and that kind of thing too. So it would be hopefully a visually interesting layout, but at the same time, not too overly high, because this way I could take the whole thing off, hang it on the wall, maybe have a cover for it or something like that. So anyway, one of the future projects I might be working on next year is I get some of these other ones finished up and kind of get going on some new ones. So anyway, let me know if you've ever built an N-scale layout on a hollow core door. I know a lot of you have, and I've seen a lot of your projects too. But let me know below what your favorite N-scale layout on a door is. If you have links to one or something like that, put it in there. It'd be great to look at some of these plans as I kind of ponder what I might do for a project like this next year sometime. So anyway, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.